Alright guys, so a few months ago and recently over the past few weeks I've been getting a few requests to do a new video on my collection of HO scale trains, primarily rolling stock and a few locomotives that I've gotten over the past year or so. I haven't done one of these videos in a while, so it's just going to be quick. I'm just going to show you guys what I have, and I mean, you guys can see by what style locomotive is, you know, what it is, like an SD50, SD60. I'm not very good at identifying them, you know, I might mix up an SD50 with an SD60 and whatnot. And same with the GP40s and GP38s, but yeah, so anyways, right over here we have a custom CX, I want to say GP40-2, Ripianet 2759, I think it's Athearn, and I think this one's Athearn, but it wasn't, it was originally painted in something else. Then Atlas 1301 genset. In the back you got Athearn's AC 4400 5108, or I think that's a CWH, but then you got an SD70-2 Mac. I think that's what it is. Then I think that's an SD50 in Conroe quality, an SD40-2, GP38-2 by Atlas Drayman, and this is probably one of my favorite locomotives. It's numbered 5934. I think it's a -840B or C. It runs slow, but it's heavy and it smells kind of cool. It smells like that Lionel smell, even though it's HO. And then next up is actually probably my favorite locomotive, believe it or not. It's an Atlas Drayman GP38-2, or yep, GP38-2. And it was the first locomotive my dad got me when I was like probably 10. And a family friend actually ran off the layout and it dropped and basically shattered into 100 pieces, so I had to glue some stuff back, and as you can see, the plow and everything's still broken. It still runs, but again the couplers are snapped and everything, so I kind of weathered it up to make it look cool, even though I don't plan on running it anytime soon unless I fix it. And next up are the custom, well, most of them are custom, and they're the Bay Colony Line fleet I have. I got, I think, 3 or 4 of them off eBay. A guy was selling his collection, I think, and I managed to pick a couple up. And I couldn't get 1701, which was the locomotive I was trying to get. But I am custom making 1701 right now, and over the past year, I've kind of stopped the project as I'm looking for some more decals for it. Next up is 1751. Now, I picked that up at the Springfield Train Show last year. And here's 1501 with the horn hook couplers. Next up is 1702. Now, originally this locomotive was DCC. However, when I tried to run it in DCC, the DCC decoder does not work. I have no clue why, and I haven't touched it since. I've been trying to figure out how to work, but I'll have to look up some information on that. Next is 1064, which I believe is an RS1 or an RS3. I'm not really sure. Gotta do some more research on that. And finally, the alco switcher by Atlas. Atlas made a few of these. Saw them on eBay a couple years ago. A couple of them at once. And then for giggles, I kind of got the N-scale GP9 of 1751 along with 2 little boxcars. And next up, I have a couple F40s and F59 PHIs, and just this is the kind of oddballs I have. I'd like to get some more Norfolk Southern locomotives and UP and CNN locomotives, but hopefully I can find a couple of those in the future. Some train shows. Both of those are dummies, the Union Pacific and the CN. The UP has lights in it, but doesn't run. This is a Bachmann NS GP38-2. I love the detail on this thing. It runs awesome. I just don't use it as much as I should. Next up is an Ace commuter rail locomotive. I think it's an F59 PHI. And then next up is a coaster, number 3001. I also found the F40 version of it, 2105, which I actually saw when I visited San Diego a few years ago. So it's nice to actually have that locomotive in HO scale. Now I believe Walthers did a remake of it, but they made it so that the kind of greenish is like a light blue, which I don't think matches the original. I mean, maybe it does match the original color now, but I don't really like the light blue ones. I kind of like the dark green ones, the green little swoop instead. And then finally is another early locomotive I got for my birthday a few years ago. It's an Amtrak 231 Operation Lifesaver by Walthers. Nice little crossing gates up on the front. See that? Again, the next line of locomotives are kind of some oddballs. These are two Athearn P42s or P40s. I got those off eBay for about, I think, 60 bucks for both of them because they kind of sound a little bit like the Athearn humming noise. A few of the windows are missing, and as well as some railings. The next locomotive is a custom CXX painted P40 here, and I actually really like the details on this. This isn't a real locomotive, but I thought it would be awesome if it was a real locomotive, and so I picked that up. And next up we have an Athearn B&M locomotive. I believe this is an early run of Athearn's GP9 locomotives back in the 80s. I don't actually know if it's... I know it's by Athearn, the locomotive, but I believe it might be custom painted because I couldn't really find any information on Athearn's early models of these. But it's labeled 1705. It runs good, has the famous Athearn buzz to it. Needs some windows, has some lights, but overall it's a really nice locomotive. Next up is a Canadian Pacific alco switcher, which I do plan on selling, along with this ATSF steam locomotive. Now the only reason I'm selling this is because the wheels on the front, the seller who sold this to me originally gave me some wheels for the locomotive, but they didn't really fit in and work properly. The thing runs fine. Actually, smoke comes out of it. I didn't have a smoke bottle included, but it came with a tender and actually runs fairly nice. And it does smoke a little bit, but I'll have to find more of those smoke pellets to use for the locomotive. And lastly, I have a few of my MBTA locomotives. That's a Bud car in the back. It's DC. And that is a sad custom painted locomotive I did. Now, it's not coming out too good on camera, but it's actually a lighter purple than that. Those are actually, the flag and the T symbol is printed out. And I remember when I was probably 10, thought that was a really good locomotive and that was really cool custom, but honestly it was just like a fantasy model I had for a GP9 for the MBTA. Then I have a couple of these lifelike 1004 locomotives sitting around. I kind of wanted to redo them into the lightning bolt scheme, but never got around to actually doing so. Up here is another custom model, number 1008, which has ditch lights, and I got that off eBay, and it's a really nice model. I forget the eBay user, but he made a couple of these. Up next is an old railroad depot mess-up locomotive that I got at a train show, and I may run out of batteries soon because this camera's blinking. And that's a really nice detailed locomotive, but only problem is it's in the 1001 series, which should be just a single stripe. Next up is the True Line Trains, MP36-2C, number 010. And these are two N-scale F40s, one by Model Power for the MBTA paint, 1004, which is really rare. And next up is one I'm actually trying to custom make, but the line's a little bad. And I do have a few other locomotives that I cannot find, including a Metro North locomotive, but this is kind of pretty much the entire collection I have. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So about 30 or 40 locomotives. Not much. I'm going to try to show you guys a little bit of my rolling stock right up next, so hang tight. Actually, throughout the whole just short video I did introducing all the locomotives, I forgot about the one behind me, which is the first DCC in sound locomotive I have, and it's by Intermountain, number 607. Probably one of my favorite locomotives now, mainly because of the sound part aspect of the lights. So totally forgot to mention this one. That's really neat as well. So yeah, now it's time for the rolling stock update on just what I have so far.